Only the human noticed the kidnapping and changed the fate of a little alien girl. The stench of Port Halcyon 12 hit Kai Mercer like a slap. The air was thick with alien spices, machine oil, and the sharp scent of ozone from the docking rings. Traders shouted in dozens of languages, and neon lights blinked across signs that promised real Terran whiskey and authentic oxygen. Nothing here was real. Not the drinks, not the smiles, and certainly not the peace. Kai adjusted his old brown jacket and felt the hard weight of his pulse sidearm hidden beneath it. 6 years since he'd left Earth's military, and the habit of staying armed still clung to him like a second skin. In a place like Halcyon, it wasn't paranoia. It was survival. He moved through the crowd like a man who'd done this 1,000 times before. Head down, eyes sharp, one hand always free. He had come here for a simple job. Buy a regulator for his ship and get out before anyone started asking questions. But simple jobs had a way of turning ugly fast in this corner of the galaxy. The crowd pressed tighter as he entered the central. Bizarre, a swirling sea of bodies, slimy, scaled, furred, and human. Overhead, the glass roof showed the endless dark of space and the faint glow of nearby moons. It was noisy, chaotic, and full of danger. Just the kind of place where someone could vanish forever. That's when Kai saw it. At first, it looked ordinary. A large, saurid creature, at least 7 feet tall, dragging a smaller figure through the crowd, probably a parent with a stubborn kid. But something about the scene snagged Kai's instincts. The saurid's grip was too tight, the child's movements too frantic. Then he saw the gag, a crude strip of gray cloth tied around the child's mouth, and everything inside him went still. The girl couldn't have been more than 6 by human years. Her skin shimmered a soft blue, her hair bright violet, sticking out in messy tufts. Her clothes were torn, her knees scraped. Her wide eyes locked on Kai for one heartbeat, and he saw it. Terror. Real, bone-deep terror. He didn't think. He moved. "Hey," Kai called, cutting through the crowd. "Hold up." The saurid turned, yellow eyes narrowing. Its voice was low and rough. "Not your business, human. Move along." Kai stopped a few paces away. "Kid doesn't look too happy for a family trip." "Brat's noisy," the saurid hissed. "Took her home, quiet her down. Funny way to do that, with a gag." Kai's tone was calm, but his hand drifted near his belt. "Mind if I ask her a question?" "Back off." The saurid's tail twitched, a warning. Kai crouched down slowly, eyes never leaving the alien's claws. "Just one question," he said softly, pulling the cloth away from the girl's mouth. The child gasped and whispered, her voice trembling. "He took me. Please, help me." The saurid lunged. Kai twisted aside, driving his elbow into the alien's throat, right at the ridge where the breathing gills pulsed. The creature staggered, coughing. Kai followed with a quick kick that sent the saurid crashing into a vendor's stall, toppling bottles of glowing liquid. Gasps rippled through the market, but no one stepped in. No one ever did. "Security!" Kai shouted, scanning for help. A pair of Confederation officers turned their heads lazily, then went back to their food trays. "Useless." The saurid snarled, clutching a curved blade. "You'll regret that, human." Kai aimed his pistol. "Try me." For a tense moment, the alien weighed its odds, then turned and bolted, vanishing into the maze of stalls. Kai holstered his weapon and looked at the girl. She stood shaking, tears streaking her blue cheeks. "He said he'd sell me," she whispered. "There are others." Kai felt something tighten in his chest. The old soldier's instinct. The one that never let him walk away from a wrong. "What's your name, kid?" "Nira," she said softly. "I'm Kai." He offered his hand. After a moment's hesitation, she took it. Her fingers were cold, trembling. The crowd was already returning to normal, pretending nothing had happened. No one looked at them. No one cared. Kai sighed. "Let's get you safe, Nira." She nodded, her small face brave but scared. Together they walked toward the exit tunnels past the flickering neon and the indifferent crowd. But Kai could feel eyes on his back, watching, measuring. He didn't know who that saw had worked for, or how big the operation was. But one thing was clear. He'd just made himself a target, and somewhere deep in his gut, Kai knew this wasn't just about one kidnapped child. It was something bigger, something dark. He tightened his grip on Nira's hand. He'd figure it out later. For now, he just needed to keep her alive. Because on Port Halcyon 12, the rule was simple. You don't get involved, and Kai Mercer had just broken it. The security office smelled like burnt circuits and cold coffee. The gray-skinned officer behind the desk didn't even bother to look up when Kai entered, holding Nira's trembling hand. A holographic screen glowed between them, filled with half-written reports no one cared about. Kai placed his ID chip on the counter. Kidnapping attempt. The suspect's still out there. I need a patrol sent to the marketplace. The officer's 4 eyelids blinked slowly, one pair at a time. No record of such incident reported. No surveillance trigger. No witnesses. Kai frowned. I'm the witness. The alien tapped a claw on the desk. You? A transient human with no local registration? Perhaps you misunderstood a cultural matter. Misunderstood? Kai's jaw tightened. She was gagged and bleeding. That looked like culture to you? The officer tilted his head. Children fall. Children cry. It happens. His upper eyes drifted to Nira, who shrank behind Kai's leg. You can leave now. Kai's voice dropped cold. You're not even writing this down. Sir, the officer said, still expressionless. Please vacate before I call actual security. That was the moment Kai understood. The report was never going to exist. Someone up the chain had already buried it. He turned, taking Nira's hand again. Fine. We'll handle it ourselves. Outside, the corridor felt too quiet. The hum of machinery filled the silence like a warning. The child clung to him, her small steps quick to keep up. Where's your mother, Nira? He asked gently. She works in Medsector 9, Nira said. She's a doctor, a gene doctor. Good. Then that's where we'll go. They moved through the bustling main walkway, weaving between droids, vendors, and soldiers on break. But Kai's instincts began to tingle. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Someone was following them. He didn't look back, just slowed his pace, then sped up. The rhythm matched behind them. Another shadow peeled off ahead, pretending to check a vending unit. The movement was too precise, too controlled, not random. Stay calm, Kai murmured. We're going to play a game. Nira looked up, confused. Game? He nodded. Yeah. You're going to pretend you're tired. Fall asleep on my shoulder. Can you do that? She nodded, brave. Okay. He lifted her into his arms. The child relaxed instantly, face hidden in the crook of his neck. There are 3, she whispered, so soft he almost missed it. 1 behind, 2 ahead. Kai's brow lifted slightly. Sharp kid, smarter than most adults he knew. He ducked suddenly into a side passage marked Maintenance Access Only. The lights flickered as they entered, and the air grew heavy with dust. Pipes rattled overhead. He moved fast but silent, turning, corners, descending stairwells, shifting levels through service tunnels the tourists never saw. These were the guts of Halcyon, forgotten, filthy, and unmapped. When he finally stopped, they were deep in the lower decks. Nira lifted her head. Did we lose them? For now, Kai said, scanning the dim corridor. But they'll keep looking. He knelt beside her. You said your mom works in Medsector 9, right? You remember the way? Nira nodded eagerly. I remember the smell, like clean air and mint. He smiled faintly. Perfect. We'll follow the mint. They climbed through the network of tunnels until the grime gave way to smooth metal walls and bright white lights. The antiseptic tang of medicine hit his nose before they even reached the entrance. The medical district was quiet and orderly, the opposite of the chaos above. Kai carried Nira to the reception desk. A blue-skinned woman looked up, and her eyes widened. Nira? She gasped. By the stars, where have you been? Your mother's been searching every sector. Where is she? Kai asked quickly. In her lab, level 3. The woman's voice trembled with relief. Wait here. I'll call her. Moments later, a figure burst through the glass doors running. She was tall and graceful, her skin the same pale blue as Nira's, her violet hair tied back in a neat braid. Nira! She cried, falling to her knees and pulling the child into her arms. My heart nearly stopped. I thought I lost you forever. Mom, Nira sobbed, clinging tight. He helped me. The human did. The woman looked up, eyes glistening. You saved my daughter? Kai nodded awkwardly. Someone had to. I'm Dr. Selene Aris, she said softly. I owe you more than I can ever repay. Kai shook his head. No need. But we need to talk. Somewhere private. Selene's smile faded. She nodded, understanding instantly. My office. This way. As they walked through the sterile corridor, Kai caught the faint scent of ozone and herbs that clung to her hair. She moved with precision like a woman who carried both intelligence and secrets. When the door sealed behind them, the tension in her shoulders broke. Whoever took Nira wasn't acting alone, she said. And if they know she's back with me, they won't stop. Kai frowned. Why would anyone target a child? Selene hesitated, eyes flicking to the security cameras, then back to him. Because of me. Because of what I discovered. What kind of discovery? She drew a slow breath. Something that changes everything the galaxy believes about human biology. Before Kai could ask more, the lab door vibrated with a heavy clang. A voice barked from outside. Cold, official, robotic. Dr. Aris, station security. Open immediately. Selene's eyes widened. That's not security, she whispered. Kai's hand went to his weapon. Another slam shook the door. Then we need another way out, he said. Selene pressed a hidden panel in the wall. It hissed open, revealing a dark maintenance shaft behind it. In here, she whispered, clutching Nira's hand. Quickly. As the pounding grew louder, Kai glanced at the frightened child, then at the scientist who suddenly looked far less like a doctor and far more like a target. He stepped inside the shaft last, sealing it behind them. The sounds of fists and metal faded, and for the first time, Kai realized this wasn't just a rescue anymore. It was a war he'd accidentally walked into. The maintenance shaft was narrow and dim, filled with the hum of machines and the faint hiss of coolant lines. Kai led the way weapon drawn, while the light from his wristband cut weakly through the shadows. Behind him, Selene moved quickly but quietly, clutching Nira close. The little girl's breathing came fast and shallow, echoing faintly in the metal tunnel. Where does this lead? Kai whispered. To the service decks under the medical wing. Selene replied, her voice barely audible. It connects to almost every section of the station. The staff uses it for supply transfers, off the official grid. Good, Kai said, because whoever's at that door isn't planning to knock twice. They kept moving until they reached a cross-section lined with flickering warning lights. Selene stopped, catching her breath. I need to tell you something before we go further, she said, her eyes full of urgency. You need to understand why they want me, and why they took Nira. Kai frowned. Go on. Selene glanced down, at her daughter who was half asleep in her arms, then met Kai's eyes. I'm a xenogeneticist. My work focuses on DNA compatibility between species. Most combinations never mix. Even when they do, the results are unstable, short-lived. But she hesitated. I found something different. Something impossible. Impossible's kind of my favorite word, Kai said dryly. What did you find? A match, she said. Between humans and my species, the Sarai. Kai blinked. A match? You mean? I mean it works, she interrupted. Not just physically. On a cellular level. Your DNA doesn't reject ours, it adapts. It synchronizes. Kai let out a low whistle. That's a first. Selene nodded. And that's why they're hunting me. The Red Helix Syndicate funds genetic research across dozens of systems. But they don't want unity. They want control. My data could be used to build bioweapons, pathogens that spare humans and Sarai while killing everyone else. Kai felt a cold anger rise in his chest. So they're planning to rewrite evolution? Yes, she whispered. And Nira, she's proof my findings are real. They'll stop at nothing to get her. A deep metallic clang echoed behind them. Kai raised his pistol. Then we'd better move. They hurried through the passage until it opened into a wider maintenance hub. Red lights pulsed faintly across old machinery, casting long shadows. Kai scanned the exits. Left goes to cargo levels, he said, checking his wrist display. Right heads toward docking sectors. Docking, Celine said quickly. If we reach your ship, the air suddenly filled with a distant mechanical whine. Drones, Kai cursed under his breath. They're using scanners to track heat signatures. We need cover. He spotted an old waste recycler, big enough to hide a child. Nira, climb in here, he whispered. Stay quiet no matter what happens. The girl obeyed without hesitation, curling into the dark compartment as Kai closed the hatch halfway, leaving just enough air. 2 patrol drones floated past the corridor junction, their sensors sweeping in slow arcs. Kai pressed Celine against the wall, both holding still as the lights glided across the tunnel. The hum grew louder, closer, then faded away. When the sound disappeared completely, Kai exhaled. Too close. Celine looked at him, her voice trembling slightly. You risked your life for a stranger. Why? Kai glanced at her. Because no one else would. For a moment, the tension between them shifted. Fear replaced by something quieter, something human. Then Nira whispered softly from her hiding spot, Are we safe now? Not yet, kid, Kai said. But we're getting there. They kept moving until the tunnel sloped upward and ended in a heavy maintenance door. Kai forced it open and stepped into a massive chamber filled with humming generators and pipes glowing with blue plasma. Steam drifted from vents and the air vibrated with power. This is the core sector, Celine said, eyes wide. If they track us here, they could overload the systems. Then we don't give them the chance. Kai moved to a terminal and connected his wrist unit. I'll reroute power surges, scramble their scanners. Celine watched as his fingers danced across the controls. You know how to hack? Used to be military recon, he said, a grin flashing briefly. You learn a few tricks. Within seconds, the nearby lights flickered and the hum deepened to a low, distorted growl. The scanner's signal vanished from his wrist display. That should buy us time. Nira tugged at Celine's coat. Mom, can we go home now? Celine knelt, brushing a hand through her daughter's hair. Soon, my love. Very soon. But Kai wasn't so sure. The Red Helix had resources, ships, spies, informants. They wouldn't stop after one failure. They never did. He looked at Celine, who stood in the eerie blue light of the generators, her features sharp and beautiful, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and fear. We'll get you to my ship, he said quietly. Then we find out who's really behind this. Celine nodded. You don't have to help us. Yeah, Kai said, checking his weapon again. But I already did. Might as well finish the job. From somewhere deep in the tunnels behind them came a faint echo of footsteps. Slow, steady, mechanical. Nira grabbed her mother's hand. They found us again, she whispered. Kai's jaw tightened. Then let's make them regret it. He turned toward the sound, pulse pistol ready, eyes calm and focused. The soldier was back, and this time he wasn't running. The tunnel shook with each step of the pursuers behind them. The sound wasn't random, it was rhythm, marching boots, multiple sets. Kai recognized that cadence instantly. Military precision. These weren't bounty hunters, they were trained. Keep moving, he said, voice low but firm. Celine clutched Nira closer, her breathing shallow. The glow from the power conduits painted her face in streaks of blue and white light. She wasn't built for this kind of danger. She was a scientist, not a fugitive. Yet the fire in her eyes told Kai she wasn't going to stop. They turned a corner and reached a steel hatch marked Dock Access, 42. Relief flickered in Celine's expression. My ship's just beyond that. Wait, Kai interrupted, crouching low. He scanned the entryway. No guards, no noise. Just silence. A wrong kind of silence. He frowned. It's too quiet. Celine hesitated. You think it's a trap? Kai nodded once. Definitely. He moved forward carefully, eyes scanning every shadow. The docking bay stretched ahead like an enormous metallic cathedral. Cargo crates sat stacked in neat rows, a ship engine hummed in standby, and a flickering overhead light buzzed softly. It all looked staged. Stay here, Kai whispered, moving ahead alone. He stepped between the rows, checking each corner, every reflection in the glossy floor panels. Then, a soft click. The ground beneath him flashed red. Kai! Celine shouted, but it was too late. The bay exploded with movement. Hidden panels slid open on both sides of the corridor, and black armored figures stepped out, weapons raised. Red insignias glowed on their chests, a broken helix. Red Helix Syndicate. A dozen of them. Drop. The weapon human, said one, tall insectoid with shimmering wings folded behind its back. The scientist and her creation belong to us. Kai raised his pistol slowly but didn't lower his eyes. Creation? The leader's mandibles clicked. The child, proof of cross-species compatibility, the first hybrid, a miracle of biology. Celine froze. She's not an experiment, she's my daughter. The leader tilted its head unbothered. That's debatable. Kai's trigger finger twitched, but he held his fire. Too many guns. No cover. No way to win this head-on. He forced a tight smile. Okay, let's talk. You will talk, the alien replied. After we take them. A new voice echoed from the far end of the bay. You'll have to go through me first. Kai turned, and his jaw dropped. Out of the shadows stepped a tall woman in gray combat armor, scar across her cheek, plasma rifle in hand. Captain Mara Ortiz, his old commanding officer from the Terran Corps. Still finding trouble in all the wrong places, huh, Mercer? She said, smirking. Kai grinned despite himself. You always had the best timing. Still do, Mara replied, raising her rifle. The syndicate leader turned. Kill them all. What followed wasn't a firefight. It was chaos. Kai dove behind a cargo crate, firing quick bursts. The bay erupted with plasma flashes, smoke, and shouting in alien tongues. Celine pulled Nira behind a steel console, shielding her with her own body. Sparks rained down like burning rain. Mara moved like she had a sixth sense, every shot clean, every motion precise. How many you counting? She shouted. Too many, Kai yelled back, returning fire. We need a way out. There's an access corridor behind the refuel tanks, Mara said. If we reach it, we can loop to the executive hangar. Kai nodded. Cover me! He sprinted across open ground, firing at the nearest enforcer. Plasma bolts screamed past his ear. He slid behind the tanks, ducked, and gestured for Celine and Nira. Go! Now! Celine hesitated, then ran with her daughter clutched tight. A syndicate soldier raised a weapon to fire at them, but a precise shot from Mara dropped him mid-step. The three made it to cover, breathless, hearts pounding. Mara joined seconds later, reloading her rifle. Nice to see you still attract insane situations, she muttered. Kai grinned. You missed me. Barely. Another explosion shook the bay. The overhead lights flickered, turning everything crimson. Celine pressed her back to the wall. We can't keep this up. There are too many, Mara smirked. You've clearly never seen him improvise. Kai pulled a small disc from his belt pouch. A combat-grade EMP. We run on 3, Celine blinked. What's that? Plan B. He threw the disc into the center of the bay. 1. The syndicate enforcers turned in unison. 2. Mara grabbed Celine and Nira, dragging them toward the exit. 3. The EMP detonated. A thunderous boom rolled through the chamber. Lights shattered. Consoles exploded. The shockwave slammed into the walls, shorting weapons and dropping drones out of the air. Kai staggered, ears ringing, but kept his balance. "Move, move!" They rushed through the smoking corridor, alarms wailing above them. The emergency lights painted the path in blood-red hues. Behind them, muffled shouts and metallic screeches echoed. The syndicate wasn't dead, just disoriented. As they reached the next sector, Mara collapsed against a wall, clutching her shoulder. A deep burn mark smoked beneath her armor. "You're hit," Kai said. "Just a graze," she grunted. "You're getting slow." Kai smirked faintly. "Still faster than you." Celine's eyes darted to the alarm screens above. "They'll seal the hangar within minutes." "We need a ship," Mara nodded weakly. "There's an executive shuttle 1 floor up. My clearance should still work." Kai looked at Celine and Nira. "Then that's our ticket out." As they disappeared down the emergency corridor, the sirens behind them shifted pitch, a deeper tone, heavier, almost mechanical. The syndicate's reinforcements had arrived, and this time, they weren't sending foot soldiers, they were sending hunters. Kai tightened his grip on the pistol and glanced at Mara. "Guess the easy part's over." She grinned despite the pain. "Was it ever easy?" He smirked. "Not for humans," and with that, they vanished into the maze of steel tunnels. 3 fugitives, 1 wounded soldier, and a child who carried a secret worth an entire war. The alarm lights pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, urgent, blood red. The sound of clanging metal boots followed close behind as Kai, Selene, Nira, and Mara sprinted through the narrow maintenance corridor. The air was thick with smoke and ozone. Somewhere behind them, the syndicate's hunters were coming, silent, efficient, relentless. "Keep moving," Kai shouted, gripping Nira's hand as she struggled to keep pace. Mara's voice crackled over the comlink. "Executive hangar's 2 levels up. We can't take the lifts, they'll be locked down by now." "Then we climb," Kai replied. They reached a vertical shaft with metal rungs leading upward. Steam hissed from vents and the sound of boots echoed below. No time to hesitate. Kai boosted Nira up, then Celine. "Go, I've got the rear." The girl's small hands moved fast, determined despite fear. Celine climbed behind her, eyes wide with exhaustion but fierce with purpose. Mara followed next, muttering through clenched teeth. "If we live through this, I'm buying you a drink. A strong one." "Make it 2, Kai said, pulling himself up after them. Halfway up, a plasma bolt screamed past, hitting the wall beside his boot. The hunters had arrived. Sleek black armor, red visors, weapons that hummed with deadly precision. Kai ducked as more shots followed. He fired downward, the muzzle flash lighting the shaft in harsh bursts. "Go, go, go!" Mara threw a grenade down the shaft. The explosion shook the entire tunnel, filling it with fire and smoke. The hunters' shouts turned to static-filled screeches. When they emerged at the top, the corridor opened into a vast chamber lined with polished chrome and soft golden lights, the executive docking bay. It was eerily quiet, sterile and far too clean for a place that had just gone under lockdown. Mara pointed ahead. There, that shuttle. The vessel gleamed white and silver, its engines humming softly in standby mode. Diplomatic seals marked its sides. It was the kind of ship only high-ranking corporate officers or government envoys could use. Celine looked doubtful. "Will your clearance still work?" Mara smirked. "Guess we'll find out." She pressed her wrist to the scanner. The console blinked. "Red. Invalid authorization," the system said. "Damn it!" Mara slammed her fist against the panel. "They revoked my clearance." Before Kai could respond, the hangar doors rumbled open, and 6 new enforcers marched in. This group looked different. No insignias, no faces, only sleek helmets with glowing crimson visors. Kai cursed under his breath. "Special Ops," the leader raised a weapon. "You have nowhere left to run, human. Hand over the geneticist." Kai raised his pistol, buying time. "You really think I'll just—" The enforcer fired. The blast struck the wall behind him, showering sparks. "Okay," Kai said grimly. "Guess we're skipping negotiations." He turned to Selene. "You said you worked in genetics. You good with frequencies and biosignal patterns?" Selene blinked in confusion. "What?" "Yes, but then help me." He yanked a small comm unit from his belt and began rewiring it with trembling fingers. "Mara, cover us." Mara dropped behind a crate, firing precise bursts. "You better have a miracle ready, Mercer." "Working on it." Celine crouched beside him, hands shaking but steadying as she saw what he was doing. You're trying to modulate the comm link to emit a biosonic wave. Something like that, Kai said, teeth gritted. You said human and Sarai DNA interact on a neurochemical level. If that's true, maybe we can invert that signal, make a frequency that scrambles their neural link instead. Celine's eyes widened. That's brilliant, but it could kill us too. Yeah, Kai said, twisting the final wire. Let's hope it doesn't. He activated the device. A high keening sound filled the hangar, a tone so sharp it made the metal walls vibrate. The enforcers froze mid-step, clutching their helmets. Their visors flickered, their movements jerky. Selene winced, covering Nira's ears. It's working! The leader screamed through the comm distortion. Shut it off! Their minds. Then silence. One by one, the enforcers collapsed, their weapons clattering to the floor. Kai exhaled shakily, switching off the comm unit. See, totally fine. Mara looked at him with disbelief. You're insane. Yeah, but effective, he said with a grin. Selene stood, staring at him in awe. You just weaponize sound on instinct, Kai shrugged. Humans have been annoying people with noise for centuries. Guess we finally made it useful. Mara managed to laugh but winced, holding her wounded arm. All right, genius. Let's get that shuttle running. Kai approached the console again. Maybe we don't need clearance now. He pried off the access panel and began rerouting the power. Sparks flew. Systems hummed. After a tense 10 seconds, the ship lights blinked green. Docking bay lockdown overridden, said the shuttle's AI. Celine's eyes widened. You did it. Kai gestured toward the ramp. Everyone aboard now. They ran up the ramp as the heavy doors behind them began to open again. More syndicate troops were pouring in, hundreds this time. Kai hit the controls, sealing the hatch. The engines roared to life, shaking the deck beneath their feet. Outside, alarms wailed. Inside, Selene held Nira close as the ship lifted off. Mara dropped into a seat beside Kai. You just hacked an executive shuttle, outsmarted a syndicate strike team, and nearly fried your own brain doing it. Kai grinned. Yeah, not bad for a day's work. Selene looked at him from across the cockpit, her violet eyes soft but filled with something new. Trust. You saved us again, she said quietly. Why? Kai met her gaze. Because humans don't walk away when things get ugly. The shuttle burst through the atmosphere, leaving Halcyon 12 behind in a trail of fire and light. But as the stars stretched before them, a shadow appeared on the radar, a single red dot. Following at impossible speed, Mara's expression hardened. They're not giving up. Kai's smile faded. Then neither are we. He pushed the throttle forward, eyes locked on the stars. Let's see how far human stubbornness can really go. The stars streaked into lines as the shuttle leapt to sublight speed, engines howling in protest. Kai gripped the controls tighter, feeling the tremor through the seat. Behind him, the hum of systems struggling to hold together mixed with the soft, panicked breaths of Selene and Nira. Status? Kai asked. Mara, pale but conscious, checked the scanner. They're still on us. Red Helix gunship. Fast, heavier armor, long-range cannons. If we stay in open space, they'll tear us apart. Suggestions? Kai said dryly. Run harder. Mara replied, forcing a grim smile. Selene leaned forward, eyes fixed on the navigation display. There's a dense asteroid cluster in the Helion drift 20 minutes from here. It's unstable, radiation pockets, debris storms, but it might hide us. Perfect, Kai said, punching in the coordinates. Dangerous and full of rocks trying to kill us. Just my kind of place. The ship jolted violently as a plasma round clipped their tail. Warning lights screamed across the cockpit. Shields down to 70, Mara shouted. Kai cursed under his breath. Hold on. The shuttle veered sharply, rolling through a field of shattered ice fragments. The light from nearby stars refracted across the cockpit, scattering rainbow hues through the smoke. Nira gasped softly as the ship skimmed past an asteroid the size of a city. Is this safe? She whispered. No, Kai said. That's why it'll work. As they plunged into the Helion drift, space turned chaotic. Massive stone giants drifted past, colliding in slow-motion avalanches. Static crackled over the comms. Outside, blue lightning arced across dust clouds, illuminating the shuttle like flashes of war photography. Selene clutched the console. The gravitational fields are unstable. If we go too deep, the engines could implode. Kai's eyes didn't move from the view ahead. If we don't, that gunship will make sure we never have to worry about it. Behind them, the Syndicate ship roared into the asteroid field, its red lights glowing like an angry predator. Mara swore. "They're following us in?" "That's suicide!" "They think we'll blink first," Kai said, jaw tightening. "Let's prove them wrong." He killed the external lights, plunging the cabin into near darkness. Only the faint glimmer from asteroids drifting past illuminated their faces. "Celine, remember that trick you used with the shield harmonics back in the tunnels?" Kai asked suddenly. She blinked. "Yes, you want me to do it again?" "Yeah, but match them to the mineral density of this debris field. If we align the shield frequency with the rock composition, their scanners might read us as another asteroid." Her fingers flew over the console. "It'll take a few minutes to recalibrate." "You've got 2, Kai said, jerking the controls to avoid a spinning fragment the size of a shuttle. The entire ship groaned as they scraped through a narrow gap. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Neera clung to her seat, her small voice trembling. "We're gonna crash." Kai forced a grin. "Not today, kiddo. I still owe Mara that drink." Behind them, the Syndicate ship fired again. A plasma bolt hit an asteroid, splitting it into thousands of fragments that scattered like glowing embers. Some slammed into the shuttle, rattling every bolt loose. "Shields at 40, Mara called out. "I hope this miracle plan kicks in soon." "Done," Celine said. Harmonics matched and locked. Immediately, the lights dimmed as the ship's outline shimmered faintly, its energy field syncing with the surrounding rock. The sensors blinked once, then went dark. Mara stared at her screen. "We disappeared from their radar." Kai exhaled slowly, finally releasing the throttle. "Told you. Humans are great at pretending to be rocks when life gets hard." Celine gave a shaky laugh, relief softening her face. "You're insane." "Yeah," he said, smiling faintly. "But we're alive." For several minutes, silence filled the cabin, only the soft hum of life support and the distant groans of drifting asteroids. The Syndicate ship cruised nearby, its scanners sweeping empty space, unaware its prey was hiding less than a kilometer away. Inside the darkened cockpit, Celine turned to Kai, her eyes catching the faint glow of the console lights. "You shouldn't have come back for us," she said quietly. "They'll never stop now." "Neither will I," Kai replied. "That's kind of a human thing. We pick a fight we can't win and then somehow win anyway." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "That's admirable and terrifying." He met her gaze, a flicker of warmth breaking through the exhaustion. "Gets us through the day." A soft beep interrupted the moment. Mara leaned forward, frowning. "You're gonna hate this." Kai glanced at the scanner. 3 new red signals had appeared at the edge of the drift, more Syndicate ships converging fast. "Guess they called backup," Kai muttered. Celine's eyes widened. "We can't outfight them." Kai cracked his knuckles, smirking. "Then we outsmart them." He turned off the engines completely. The shuttle drifted, dead silent among the asteroids. "Celine, you still have access to the shuttle's radiation emitters?" "Yes, but good, we'll dump a trail, simulate a reactor leak. They'll think we tried to flee deeper into the cluster. Then when they chase the false signal, they'll pass us," Mara finished, catching on. "And we slip out behind them." Celine began rerouting the power flow, her fingers moving quickly. Radiation decoy online. Kai watched as the scanners lit up with the false signal streaking into the far side of the belt. The 3 enemy ships immediately turned toward it. Within moments, the red dots vanished from their side of the screen. "Bait taken," Mara said, grinning weakly. Kai restarted the engines, slow and quiet. "Then let's leave before they realize they've been tricked." As the shuttle glided out of the asteroid field, the stars opened up ahead, bright and endless. Celine turned to him, her voice low. "You keep doing that." "Doing what?" "Winning when you shouldn't," Kai smirked. "That's what makes us human." But as they cleared the drift, the console flickered once more. A faint signal blinked on the edge of the radar, one not from the Syndicate. Mara leaned forward, confusion crossing her face. "That's a Confederation beacon, military grade." Celine frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "Why would—" Kai's stomach dropped as the shuttle's comm came alive with a cold mechanical voice. "Unidentified vessel. This is Confederation Command. Power down engines and prepare for boarding." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Oh, this just got interesting." Kai sighed, flexing his hands over the controls. "Yeah, and I was really starting to enjoy the quiet." He looked at Celine and Neera, both watching him with fear and trust mingled in their eyes. "Hang on," he said, pushing the throttle forward again. "Because I'm not done fighting yet." The Confederation patrol ship loomed ahead, a dark shadow against the stars. Its hull bristled with turrets, lights sweeping the void like searchbeams hunting prey. The comm crackled again, cold, official, and merciless. "Unidentified vessel. Power down immediately. Any attempt to evade will be treated as hostility," Mara cursed under her breath. "They're jamming civilian channels. No distress calls going out." Kai didn't answer. His focus stayed on the controls, eyes darting across readouts. He'd flown under fire before, wars, blockades, smugglers, but this was different. The Syndicate he understood. The Confederation? They were supposed to be the good guys. Celine leaned forward, voice tight. "They shouldn't even be here. The Confederation has no authority in this sector." "They do now," Kai muttered. The Syndicate must have bought themselves some friends. The patrol ship fired a warning shot, plasma flaring past the shuttle's nose. The blast lit the cockpit in blinding blue. Nira whimpered. "Mom, they're shooting at us again." Celine hugged her tighter. "It's okay, love." "Stay down." Mara looked to Kai. "Options?" He exhaled slowly. "Only bad ones. Pick your favorite." Kai smirked faintly. "Always do." He slammed the throttle forward. The shuttle jolted, engines roaring back to full power. "Hold on." The small craft shot toward the nearest moon, a silver world wrapped in swirling storms and jagged rock spires. Behind them, the Confederation warship shifted to pursuit, its engines glowing white-hot. Plasma bolts streaked through the void, close enough to rattle the hull. The shuttle dove, twisting between the upper layers of the moon's storm belt. Lightning arced across their path, plasma and thunder mixing into chaos. Mara gripped her seat, wincing from her wound. "You're insane, Mercer." "Maybe," Kai said, wrestling the controls. "But they won't follow us down here." "They're a warship," she shouted. "They'll follow." Kai's grin was grim. "Not where we're going." The shuttle plunged through the storm layer, sensors screaming in protest. Bolts of blue lightning danced over the hull. Static filled the cockpit. Celine stared at him in disbelief. "You're diving straight into an electrical field strong enough to fry a city." "Exactly," he said. "It'll fry their sensors too." For a moment the ship bucked violently. Then silence. The scanners blinked out, static giving way to emptiness. They'd vanished from the patrol's radar. Mara let out a low whistle. "Still alive." "I'll be damned." Kai eased the controls. The shuttle leveled out inside the moon's dense atmosphere. Gray clouds surrounded them like a fogged ocean. "We'll ride the storm's shadow," Kai said. "Wait until the patrol gives up." Celine touched his shoulder gently. "You keep doing this, outthinking them, surviving the impossible." Kai shrugged, though her touch steadied something deep inside him. "Humans are built for impossible." They waited in the dark for what felt like hours. When the radar finally cleared, the Confederation ship was gone. The storm faded into calm gray skies. Mara groaned, standing slowly. "We can make a hyperspace jump now. There's an Alliance outpost 2 systems over. New Terra colony. Safe zone." Kai nodded. "Plot it," Celine smiled softly. "Home." The stars stretched as they jumped into hyperspace. The cabin filled with soft blue light. For the first time in days, no alarms blared. No guns. Just quiet. Kai slumped back, exhaustion finally hitting him. Celine sat beside him, her violet eyes reflecting the light of the warp tunnel. "You know," she said softly, "the Syndicate wanted to use my research to destroy, but you used it to save." He looked at her, half smiling. "Guess that's what we do best. Take broken things and make them mean something." Nira crawled into his lap, eyes half closed. "Are we safe now?" Kai hesitated, then said, "We will be." 6 months later. New Terra colony. Twin suns bathed the Alliance capital in golden light. Sky bridges stretched between glass towers. Below, humans and Sarai worked side by side, a sight that would have been unthinkable a year ago. In the observation deck of the Alliance Research Center, Selene adjusted her white coat. The symbol of unity, a human hand and a Sarai palm, glowed on her sleeve. Kai stood beside her, wearing a clean pilot's uniform for once. He looked out over the skyline and smiled faintly. "Hard to believe this all started in a dirty market." Celine laughed softly. "You made the right choice that day." "No," he said. "We did." Across the room, Nira played with a small drone, its blue light pulsing like a heartbeat. She laughed, a sound bright enough to fill the room. Mara entered, dressed in an Alliance security uniform. Her once sarcastic grin was warmer now. News just came in. The last red helix cell has been dismantled. We got them all. Celine's shoulders relaxed. It's over. Mara tilted her head. Maybe, but something tells me trouble follows you two around. Kai chuckled. Probably. Celine turned to him, her expression soft. You know, I've spent my whole life studying what makes species compatible. Turns out it's not just genes, it's choices. The ones we make when everything's falling apart. Kai met her gaze, his voice quiet. Then let's keep choosing right. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring, simple, gold, old. Celine blinked in surprise. What is that? It belonged to my grandmother, Kai said. She always said, find someone whose chaos matches yours. He dropped to one knee. Celine gasped softly, eyes wide. Celine Eris, he said, voice steady. You and your daughter changed everything I thought I knew about what it means to fight, and what it means to live. So, will you keep choosing this chaos with me? Her answer came without hesitation. Yes. The ring slid onto her finger, and for the first time since Halcyon 12, peace felt real. Outside, the twin suns rose higher, lighting the new age of cooperation between species. Born not from treaties or politics, but from a single human who refused to look away. And far beyond the colony, deep in the void, a faint red signal blinked once, then twice. The broken helix symbol appeared on a distant screen. A voice whispered through static, Project Genesis resumes. Kai stared out the window, sensing a change in the stars. Guess peace never lasts, he murmured. Celine slipped her hand into his. Then we'll face the next war. Together. And as the light from New Terra spread across the horizon, the story of the human who noticed became legend.